Welcome to AI Advances. I am your host, Judson Vost, and I am excited today. I'm probably excited most days, but today what I'm excited about is the new ChatGPT's Canvas feature that just dropped. I don't know about you all, but maybe I'm just sort of weird. No, definitely weird, but maybe you're weird like me. And get excited when there's a new AI feature that comes out that one, I didn't know about. And so just boom, I see it on my news feed in the morning and it's there. And then number two, it actually is as useful and helpful. And that's what ChatGPT's Canvas, I think fits the bill, checks the boxes for those. So we're going to look at that today in more depth, check out how it works and everything. And take a look at maybe what it can do for you in your solopreneur, small business, mid-sized business, whatever it is that actually makes life just a little bit better. I'm going to get into the details in a minute, but just as a reminder, if you're interested in stuff like this and you're weird like me, make sure you smash the subscribe button below. And if you have ideas, thoughts, and questions about other videos, I've got one coming out next week that came out from this. Drop that in the comments below. And if it's something that other people are interested in, we'll see if we can't make a video on that. Like I said, I've got one next week coming out. Somebody asked a question and thought, I don't know the answer to that. And so played with it, came up with the answer, created a video, and made something out of it that hopefully is helpful for people. So ChatGPT Canvas, like I said, it just dropped this week, just dropped today, and showed up. I played with it a little bit, came up with some use cases, and have decided to share some of that with you because there's some real practical things that you can do with it. So what is Canvas? The best way I can explain that is, and it's in competition with Claude. So Claude has the Claude AI, if you haven't used it from Anthropic before, one of the things it does is when you're creating, let's say like code, you, and we'll look at that in a minute too, but you put in the prompt for what you want to code, and then a side window pops up with the code in it, allows you to see that. ChatGPT previously didn't have anything like that. And that's what Canvas does for us. It allows us to visualize ideas, get information organized, and use them in different ways, but also be able to see our prompt in one place and see the results, the output in another place. So that's how it works. How do you get to it? So here I am. I'm on ChatGPT. I'm on 4.0. Doesn't matter which one you're on when you pop in here and you create a new prompt. I should mention that. You have to create a new prompt. Don't take an existing prompt, try to change the model. It doesn't do that. But if I create a new prompt, ChatGPT 4.0, you will see now in beta, we have the 4.0 with Canvas. Really looking forward to the 0.1 mini or 0.1 preview with Canvas too. But for now, we have 4.0 with Canvas. Nothing changes on your screen. But after you have that, big things change. The first thing I'm going to do here is just play with a couple different ideas. One is I mentioned the coding piece of it. So let's say we want to create a form because I want to create a form. And I want to take that form and be able to see the code right here in Canvas. So I'm going to get my prompt in here. Let's talk the prompt real quick. I always like talking about prompts because if you're using chat tools like this, or any AI, the prompt is pretty much what makes the difference. Everybody talks about AI magic. AI is not magic. Turns out, and I just looked this up, AI is science. And the results are based on the input. So your output is based on your input. And so a good prompt usually leads to good results, good output. Here is my prompt. So I'm saying create a website form using HTML and CSS and even JavaScript if you feel like it. The reason I said that, by the way, breaking it down real quick, if I don't tell the tools what to use for coding, it can do a lot of different things. In Claude, if I could show you that, but in Claude, if I just said create a web form and then the next pieces of it, it's most likely going to use React and Next.js, which is fine in a web application, but that's not what I want. I want the HTML that I could paste into a page and put on my website without having to create a fully encapsulated application. I'm creating a page form and not an application here. So that's the reason for that. Then I tell it what I want it to create. And so I want to allow my visitors to enter answers into a form. that builds out a marketing strategy. That's the main thing. I can get really in depth. And if this was in the real world, I would get a lot more information in here. I would look up what kinds of things marketing strategies need to output really good strategies. And we would put that in the prompt. But in this case, making it quick, just create, ask questions, get a marketing strategy, also get their first and last name because I want to use this as a lead gen tool. So I want that on there. So when before it outputs the results for them, I would like to capture their email address for my email list. Easy enough. And let's hit the button to see the magic or the science, depending how you look at it. And you'll see what it did. Boom. It popped up on the right side of the screen. That was my John Madden, by the way. Did you like that? Boom. If you don't know who John Madden is, you go to Perplexity. It'll show you. And, but what we did here is it created my code on the right side. It kept my prompt on the left side and my information. Much like Claude, it creates a little component box or button. I'm not sure what you call it. And that component box or button is how you get if I don't have the right side showing up there, it's how I get that information and I can download that. So, it's telling me what it did. That's great. Yeah, you did a great job. And I put that there. So now a couple other pieces that go along with this is, I see the code and I can look at this and I know enough CSS and HTML to see what it did or built it. Oh, look at that. It even gave me a validate form, JavaScript at the bottom. Nice job. And so I can tell that it generated pretty much what I was asking for from this. I see that I have target audience, my channels, my budget. Again, if it was a real thing, we'd get a lot better questions for a marketing strategy, but it gets me that information. One thing it doesn't do, while it does allow me to copy that code and put it into an IDE, a tool that I can use code and manipulate it for, it doesn't show me a preview of the form. And while it's great that it created this and I can use it, that's a little bit tougher. If I go over to Claude here and I ask Claude the same thing, just as an example, because really Canvas is sort of there to compete with Claude. So let's take a look at how it looks differently. And you'll see Claude is generating similar-ish, maybe there's a little nicer code. Sometime we'll look at the in-depth pieces of coding, Claude versus ChatGPT versus a whole bunch of other tools. But what it did here, it created a really ugly form. That we could use some CSS. It obviously didn't listen to the CSS part, but we can tell it later to spruce that up. But it did create the form. But the big difference I wanted to show you is, whereas Canvas shows me the code, it doesn't allow me to preview it. And that's really a big deal when it comes to coding. So just as a comparison there, the difference between the two. Something that Canvas does that Claude doesn't is, you see the little box down here, we have some shortcuts. And these shortcuts change based on the context of what I'm doing. So in this case, I'm writing code, right? And it allows me to add some comments. If you're a coder, you know that adding comments is a big deal because somebody else you hand the code off to needs to do something later. The comments tell them what this section is about and what you were doing there. If you're like me and you have the memory of a gnat, it also reminds me tomorrow what I was coding today. So comments are a big deal. I can add logs again. I can fix bugs. So if there's issues in there in red, I can fix that. And then I can also port to a different language if I wanted to. Like I said, this is all HTML, CSS, but if I wanted to do something different, if I was writing something in Python, I can then port that to something else. So that's pretty cool. And it's all based on the fact that we're context-wise in the code builder right now. So that's sort of coding with Canvas and how that works. Perfectly serviceable. Let's try something else and let's go in and do some writing. Okay. Now you can do a lot of different things. You can do brainstorming, marketing ideas, anything you would normally think about doing with ChatGPT chats, you can do. What a lot of folks do is create content though, right? Written content. So I'm going to ask Canvas or ChatGPT with Canvas to help me write a blog post on the information needed to create those strategies for the marketing strategy. So we built the form, and here we're going to write a blog post about the things you need to gather. So maybe in real life, I'll create a blog post where I talk about for solopreneur, small business, here's the information you need to gather to come up with a great marketing strategy. And oh, by the way, once you do that, then go over here to this form and fill it out, and we're going to spit out your marketing strategy for you. So it is spitting out a post right now. You notice it still says down here it's writing something, even though the final thoughts are sort of done. They might have mentioned at the beginning, this is Canvas beta. So we expect some things. Also expect a lot of people excited like us checking it out the first time, and there's going to be a load volume issue. But what it did do is create the blog post, and it's still working through some things, but it created the blog post. There we go. And it's all done. So what's cool about this, because you could do that in the other versions of other models of ChatGPT. We have our information on the left. Again, we've got that component that encapsulates what's on the right here, and then the information that it created, which you can't see down here. And if I move myself just a little bit, maybe I can't. Maybe you can see it there. You can continue to have a chat. The other thing you can do, though, is we just looked at on the code side where you have those shortcuts. You can use shortcuts on the written section of Canvas also. And these shortcuts, again, based on the context of what we're doing, change. So I can suggest edits because this is a written post. I can add emojis, which if you've ever used any AI to create blog posts or other written content, you know what you really need is a button that says remove emojis. Never, ever put emojis in my writing because I've never, ever used emojis in my writing. And yet, even if I say on my prompt, never put an emoji in my writing, you will sprinkle emojis throughout my writing just to aggravate me. Now, I might have assigned a little bit of a human context to that, but if you've ever written anything with AI, you know, it lots of times likes to add emojis. So adding an emoji maybe is not my first thing I would want to use here. Add some final polish. Yeah, I could use that all the time. You hear how I talk. I write the same way. I can use some polish. The reading level is really cool. And what I want to show you while we're in here and we're looking at this, and it works on everything, but when I do the reading level, I can pick where I'm at. And you see, as I move down a little bit, as I move on the reading level, I'm going to get there sooner or later. Maybe it's going to move. Maybe it's not. Reading level. Nope, it is not moving my reading level. Let's see if I can do it with the length. I want to adjust the length. Let's try that. Yeah. So I want to make this longer. Now watch what happens on the canvas screen that we're looking at when I say longer. It is actually going through. You see how it's going sort of gray there and it's changing as it goes. So unlike, and I think this is one of the coolest things, unlike how it is when you do a normal chat and you ask it to update the output, it then starts and recreates new stuff. And so now you've got, like, if you think about it in the timeline, at the top, the original content, and then your prompt, and then more content below it. In this case, you're seeing it actually change in real time on the original piece of information. So that component right here didn't add a new component when we did the editing. It's using the same one. That is a nuance, but still different than how Claude works. In that, in Claude, I'll say, spruce up the CSS, right? And so Claude is going to go through and it's going to basically do the same thing where it creates, recreates, edits, whatever that is, the content that it's outputting. But you'll see here, it's creating a new component. The old component, that in coding terms, that original version is still available to me. And when it comes to coding, I prefer that because, well, not bad. That submit button is atrocious, and so are the lines and everything. I like the purple in the background. And so you see this is version 2 and this is version 1. How does that matter? In coding, it makes a big difference to me because maybe it went and changed something drastically in the second version and I want to use the first. I can get that code, grab the pieces from each of them that I wanted to, and mix those together. I think writing, it probably matters less to me, but it is still there nonetheless. And so think about that. Claude versus Canvas for ChatGPT is how do you want to do that? Now for writing, I like having just the one version there and being able to make the changes. So you can change the length, you can change the reading level. You know, try one last time. Yay, I got the reading level to move. And on the reading level, it tells me what level I'm doing: kindergarten, middle school, college, graduate. Personally, always write for middle school. That's my thing. I like a fifth grade writing style, fifth grade reading style. That's what I like. But you see here, just like on the length, it grays everything out and it's running back through and and changing up in real time and editing as it goes to be a reading level of a middle schooler. And usually I don't see things like Booger and stuff like that in there, or Mr. Beast or Unspeakable. So not quite a middle schooler, but you know, it's getting close to it. I have an 8 and 5, 6-year-old. That's why I reference that. But very cool stuff. It's pretty nifty in how that works and how it updates it. And if you're like me, you like watching it spit out content. Visually, it's just appealing, watching it sort of go from gray to white, knowing that it's making the changes in there. So that's it for Canvas. Just a walkthrough today of how it works, what you can do with it. Lots more things I'm sure you can do as you go when we get a chance to play with it more and more. Like I said, once it comes out of beta, maybe the next thing will be Canvas for '01. So Canvas with reasoning. I got a lot of ideas there once it's out. We'll talk through those once we can actually play with them. Again, if you're interested in videos like this, make sure you mash the subscribe button so you stay up to date. If you have an idea or a thought of something you'd like to see in a video, you have a question about AI and how it can help your solopreneur, small business, mid-sized business, whatever it is, make sure you leave a comment in the videos below and I'll get back to you and maybe we'll make a video of it. So until the next big, cool, geeky thing comes out in AI, we'll see you then.